Welcome back to Obituary. I'm Spencer Henry.
And I'm Madison Reyes.
And here we are. It's just us, okay? It's just me.
And she.
And us.
And
this week.
we.
And we. No guests this week, but we had so much fun with Rosie last week.
I have got to say, I loved her so much. I felt like she was such a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
And just one of us.
Great way to describe a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been reading.
Ooh.
I actually have a couple books that I bought because you are reading so much and then our friend Chris is reading so much. I'm like, okay, I'm going to read stuff for the show.
You said, I'll show you.
I'll show
you something.
I can read too.
I do love when I'm reading a book and it ties into the show because I always get so much inspiration.
So much. And you feel like you're really doing something.
Yeah.
You know?
I've got a job.
Yep.
And speaking of jobs, this is ours, and it's our job to tell you we have some news. First of all, we do not have a P.O. box right now. So please halt on sending any and all things to the P.O. box. We've been having major P.O. drama, and frankly, we were P.O.'d.
We found out that we just no longer had one. But it works out because we needed to switch it anyway.
Yeah.
I moved, Spencer moved.
Yeah.
So we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. So sorry if anything is currently lost in translation. It's not the first time this has happened where they've been like, oh, yeah, you don't have a P.O. box anymore. And then we're like, yeah, we do. And then we like, I don't know. It's just very disorganized.
Yes.
That post office we were dealing with.
Yes.
So we do not have a P.O. box right now. And then the other thing was we didn't have a video the week prior to our interview with Rosie because the girls were fighting. And so
Girls were not
we were not
fighting.
fighting. We were putting together the video. For some reason, the sound and the audio did not match up at all. And it would have been so skippy and laggy to watch that you tried watching it and you were like, it's so fucking annoying.
Well, that was after we had to download this thing called Wondershare or something to try to get it out of this. I don't know if any of you know anything about cameras. It showed up as an RSV file. And so we had to like break it out of the little RSV box and it was just not good.
Not good.
So
here we are again, trying again.
You guys, it's just us and Sammy's camera.
Yeah. Trying to figure this out together.
Trying to figure it out.
What is going on?
Girl, what is going on? Well, we got to have a little day together the other day. We went and got buns.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. My therapist is still in Long Beach. And so I went out and you met me for lunch afterwards.
Yes. And then we did a little shopping and I looked at you. I'm like, we have a problem. We were in World Market and we were like, there's nothing to buy. What are we going to do?
I was like walking around with a cart and I'm like, anything. Put anything in here. I got a sardine pillow. I'll show you guys.
We need the
I got a sardine can pillow.
Yeah, that's what he walked out with.
I didn't need that.
Like we need a dopamine rush. It's nothing crazy. It's just, a little $5 trinket. I just want it.
Hit.
Yeah, just a little hit.
Just a decorative napkin. I want it. It is a problem.
Yeah.
And it's one that I'm not ready to tackle, so we'll ignore that for now. It's the least of my problems.
I have removed all the vices from my life, and I'm gonna need to shop a little bit. Okay.
Yep.
So
all the vices.
All the vices. Don't look at that one.
Okay, wait. I have to tell you. I've been so excited. I've been waiting to tell you. So, okay, you know the show Extreme Cheapskates?
Yes.
The champ had never seen it before.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my God, you have to watch it. So we watched one.
Is that why you have cloth toilet paper?
What?
Little sheets of cloth toilet paper?
That would be... There is someone on the show who does that. That is the most...
diabolical.
Some people should be shot. Not really. Some people should not be shot.
Okay.
But my biggest, ick is when people are super cheap. I just don't like it. It's such a turn off to me. It doesn't matter, friendship turn off. partner
It's not
showing
a
up.
it's not a money amount thing. It's if you're
No.
coming over and you're bringing
If
a
you're
drink
giving me
to a
food from the
party,
trash, if you're serving me dinner from food you found in a dumpster, I think you're awful.
girl, what?
That's
Oh, that's the
yeah, that's one of the things.
oh,
And
oh,
then
oh.
or if you have reusable toilet paper,
That's crazy.
that's insane.
I'm saying, like, we've had parties at our house before, and I will not name names, but somebody brought drinks over, and then they didn't, you bring a host like a gift,
They took it with them.
They're like, hey, nobody drank that. I'm gonna take that.
Mm. Nope. You don't do it.
Okay,
It's
so
also one thing if you're like young. If you're like, I'm 20 and I'm going to this party and I
Yeah.
brought a bottle of vodka with me, like, okay, I'm gonna take this with me because we're broke 20-year-olds or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's uncouth
mm-hmm,
to bring a host a bottle of alcohol and then take it.
mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Crazy. So wait, so what did Shane think of?
Well, he was like, this is uncomfortable to watch.
Did he
It's
like
wild.
the sustainability of something?
So the champ loves sustainability.
And even he was like,
no,
get
because
real.
he's not cheap.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like that,
Right, right.
No, he was grossed out, as was I. But there is a girl on the show,
Mm-hmm.
and she scours the obituaries.
No way.
She's like, so she wants to be a fashion designer, and
Okay.
she's like working on her line or whatever. So what she would do is she would look in the obituaries for when people died, find the addresses of where their families lived,
Oh, God.
go to the family's houses and be like, hi, can I have that person's wardrobe?
Kind of love that. Like a state
Yeah,
sale,
well,
but not.
I don't think that's something that you can go asking.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't think
true.
you can knock on someone's door who just lost someone and
No.
be like, hi, are you interested in giving me their clothes?
Oh, that is crazy.
Crazy.
Would
And-
people open the door and be like, bitch?
Well, there was a few people who opened the door and they were like, what?
That is actually so crazy.
It is so crazy. But then there was one guy who opened the door. He's like, are you asking me if you can have my dead mother's clothes?
Uh-huh.
Or like my mother who's just died's clothes. And she's like, yes. So what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll organize anything you need organized from her passing. And then you don't have to give me anything. I just want the clothes.
I mean, that could be a good service, but let people come to you for
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Like advertise
Mhm,
that.
mhm.
Maybe leave a letter or something.
Yeah.
Knocking on the door is crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So I thought that was wild. What else is in my notes? Oh, my TikTok went viral.
Okay.
I had another viral TikTok.
Yeah, let's talk about Zach,
Oh my God, we got to talk about that, and we got to talk about the lizard thing.
the lizard thing.
Yeah, I had a TikTok go viral talking about
yeah.
taxidermied lizards.
Oh, I thought that was the same. What was the Zach Affleck thing?
That was because, okay, well, first of all, let me describe. So I saw this like taxidermied lizard, and there's this person, I forget their name. They're all up in the comments on that post. So you guys will be able to find it. I think it's like Todd's something.
Okay.
Is the person who makes these taxidermied lizards that like smoke cigarettes, and he like posts them with like Big Ange voices and stuff. If you've ever seen them. And so I had shared one on my Instagram story the other day, and then I made a TikTok that was like, when your fiance says your entire wedding registry can't
Be that. Yeah.
be
Yeah.
taxidermied lizards smoking cigarettes. That one just popped off. Viral sensation.
Viral
But-
sensation.
Also on my TikTok drama this week, there was like this filter on TikTok where you could rank all the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives cast members. And I put Zach at number 10 because
Okay.
truly, like that was my season 1 rating, truly.
Okay.
I think he was terrible. And I still think he's terrible. I'll double down on that actually. And anyway, I had like made a dumb TikTok, no views, no likes. Like 1,000 people saw it. There was like 90 likes on it, and it was from 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Well, somehow he found
I
it.
didn't know that.
Yeah, somehow he found it
Uh-huh.
and went and commented on it, like figured guys like you existed. Like this confirms it, or
What
something.
does that even mean?
I don't know. He's a little dumb bitch, and I'll say that with my full chest. I like responded to it, but I'm like, you're so grasping at straws.
So he really had to go look
You had to
for
go
it.
looking for it. Like, that did
Yeah.
not pop up on his For You page. I don't have any followers on TikTok, really.
Oh my God.
So
he was looking.
he was looking for it. And
Did
he
you
found it.
hashtag anything?
No, I don't know, actually. I don't
You
know
didn't
how to see.
hashtag his name.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't add him. I should
God.
have. I responded to his comment, but I was laughing because I was like, girl, get out of here, Zach Affleck.
Isn't that so funny how, like, everybody's so accessible now?
Yeah.
It's weird.
It is weird.
Very weird.
But you're as accessible as you want to be, and I
That's true.
also believe that.
That's very true. I have some breaking news that was sent to us, and it's very interesting.
Okay.
I'm very excited about this, actually.
Tell me.
Okay, so this was sent to us, and I like how they put this. They said, "Hey, Spencer, Madison, and the rest of your motley crew," which I love. "My name is Curdy. I live in very rural Maine, on the coast in Washington County, basically completely across the country from you. I've been a longtime listener of Cult Leader and Obituary.
Love.
I very anxiously await every new episode weekly.
Thank you.
Thank you. But I very anxiously do everything in life, so it's on brand."
We feel it.
A Maine newspaper just released an article about the first mushroom casket burial in the United States. It's just so happened to be in rural Maine. A super cool story, so I had to share. Enjoy. They sent it, but you had to sign up to read this particular.
One thing we will not do is sign up to read an article,
Well,
baby.
I will sometimes,
I'm
but
subscribed to certain papers, but if it goes beyond that, I'm not doing it.
it was expensive. It was like $30 or something.
Go fuck yourself.
So I found on mainepublic.org an article on it. It says, "In the backwoods of Industry, Maine, an intimate gathering was held to honor the life of Mark Anker. While the ceremony marked the end of Anker's 77 years on Earth, it also marked the start of something new. The mushroom casket he was buried in, unlike the wood and concrete used in traditional burials, is designed to provide nutrients to the surrounding soil." Now, we've talked about mushroom suits and we've talked about composting on here.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we've kind of covered mushroom burials a little bit, but I didn't realize that one hadn't been done in the US yet. This article just came out.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
I'm pretty sure there has been.
I think there's been mushroom suits,
but not
like a full mushroom casket.
Okay.
Which is so interesting.
Well, wasn't it also debunked that one guy, when we did mushroom suits, wasn't actually buried in a mushroom suit? He was on 90210 or something.
Yeah, but no, I don't think so. After a long week of spring showers, the sun came out as Marissa Anker Robert laid her father to rest under some trees as a group of friends and family looked on. An artist and longtime gardener, Anker's longtime wish was to be returned to the earth that he loved. "When I was younger, my dad was just like, I want to be buried under a tree naked in the woods on my property."
Love.
For a long time, she didn't like the idea of her father being in an anonymous spot in the woods, where she could not easily visit him. But after he died, she remembered hearing a 2016 TED Talk about mushroom caskets. She did some research and realized she'd found a perfect option. Here he is in his little cocoon in the woods, naked, with his favorite things next to him. Here it is. It's a beautiful...
It looks like a surfboard.
I was just about to say that looks kind of like a surfboard.
It's making me want islands.
I'm
hungry.
Me too. Me too.
That's so cool, though.
I know. So
and congrats to Maine. Hats off to Maine.
I know. Maine's so cool.
I love that. Thanks for sending it in, Curdy.
Curdy?
How courteous.
That was very
of you.
courteous. That was very courteous.
Okay, wait. I actually went into our email the other day, which you know is a very sporadic choice for me. He was feeling ambitious.
Ooh.
No, because I was looking for something and then I saw someone had sent in an Am I the Asshole?
Okay.
And it's their own. So I'm really excited to do an Am I the Asshole for a Geoff because we haven't done one in a while.
When Geoffs send them in, I feel pressure.
Oh, me too. I feel like personal too.
Yeah.
But we'll also tell you what we think all the time.
Totally.
That's us.
Yep.
Hello, Mr. Henry, Mr. Eyes, and the pups. Spencer, congrats on your engagement. Thank you.
Woohoo!
Woo! Yeah!
Woo!
I have been a longtime listener of Cult Leader and migrated on over to be a Geoff once the pod was started. I've never written
Yes.
in before, but I figured now was a great time given my current family drama. If you don't read this on the pod, no big deal. Oh, we're reading it on the
Honey,
pod,
we're reading
baby.
it. We're
Okay.
reading it.
And also, I just have to say, everyone has been so sweet about the engagement since that episode went out. And also, just like, what's weird to think is that I've been on the internet, like doing the podcasts and stuff for about 7 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people have been with me for a very long
Yeah.
time. And I've had a lot of like people that I know have followed me for a long time be DMing me recently. Like, it's so cool to watch this journey and stuff.
Oh.
And it like makes me emotional because I feel just like so
Supported.
parasocially attached.
Well, yeah, but like also what a great
I know. I'm
group.
like, okay, thanks for being here for this long.
Yeah.
Like, glad we're still in it together. Okay, anyway, so this person wrote, I, 22 female, was best friends with my dad, 56 male.
Oh.
He struggled with alcoholism but turned his life around when I was 13. We were close. Last November, he left my mom, they're still married, to visit another woman. That same night, I found my bank account empty. He'd withdrawn all my money as he was still a co-signer from when I opened it as a minor.
Oh, God.
Turns out he'd also borrowed over $200,000 from family friends. He came back apologizing but kept moving in and out of the house, including leaving on Thanksgiving, my birthday, and Christmas. In February, after constant texts blaming me and my brother, I blocked him. His girlfriend posted about their 7-month anniversary and he packed up and moved across the country. I've yet to see a penny back. I tried to remove him from my bank account, but he asked to do it in person. Now he's asking me to pay household bills. I said no without seeing invoices, and to mail him his personal government documents. Also said no. I told him if he wants them, he can drive back, which would also let me get him off my account and push my mom to file for divorce. My family thinks I'm an asshole for refusing to mail the documents and not paying the bills, but he stole my money and hasn't paid me back. Am I the asshole for holding my dad's documents hostage? LOL, love you both. Enjoy the drama. Emma.
No, you're not the asshole. You are the child, and you should not feel like an asshole for not paying his bills. I will say with the documents, maybe send them because they are his.
No, he can come get them if he
Oh, that's
needs
true.
them.
That's
Sorry,
true.
Emma.
That's true.
Emma, you are not the asshole.
No.
1000%. Your dad is the asshole in this
I
situation.
know. I'm so sorry. That's heartbreaking because it
Mm-mm-mm.
started out with he was your best
No.
friend and
You can't just come in and out and
Yeah,
come and
no.
go as you please.
and have a girlfriend and no.
And here's the thing, too. It's great if he got sober and was able to work through his alcoholism, but I say this all the time. I was just having this conversation with someone. If someone's not actively working on themselves or actively working a program and they're just not drinking, a lot of times they still display very alcoholic or addicty tendencies
True.
where
Very true.
they're displaying those same character defects or those
Mhm.
same characteristics of someone who's still in that selfish way of thinking. And that sounds like where your dad's at.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. And if he wants to get his documents, he can come get his fucking documents himself. And I hope that your mom divorces him.
He drained your account.
Yeah, that's
That's horrible.
mm-mm-mm.
Yeah, not the asshole.
Not the asshole. And thank you. And we love you too.
We love you.
Now, this person, this stranger, wrote, Am I the asshole for expecting my boyfriend to support me after my estranged mum died?
Okay.
Hi, all. Throw away for obvious reasons. I'm going through a really hard time right now, and I need some outside perspective on whether I'm expecting too much or if this is a deeper issue. My 25-year-old female mum died on Friday. We had a complicated, painful, and estranged relationship for most of my life, but I was still there in the room when she passed. The grief is complex. It's not just sadness, it's everything. Guilt, confusion, anger, and loss all tangled up, which we talk about all the time
I was just
also.
about to say that. Yep.
Like, grief, when you're on great terms with someone and they pass away, it's still really hard. Grief is really hard. But when you have a fucked up, kind of volatile situation,
Yeah.
grief becomes a lot more layered and complicated.
Right.
But it sounds like this person is self-aware to know that. Self-aware enough to know that. To make things worse, my dog also died the day before she did. I've been emotionally overwhelmed and struggling to process both losses. I reached out to my boyfriend, 30, male, of just over 3 years today. I made a real effort to be calm and considerate. I acknowledged that he was stressed and working nights. He works at a hospital and obviously, as a result, is also around death and illness, which I acknowledge is difficult. I didn't demand anything from him, I just hoped for a bit of emotional support. Someone to ask how I was doing, maybe talk to me on the phone, or at least offer to see me soon, and I said I was hurt that he had not done these things. He didn't ask how I was coping and made no effort to call or see me even for an hour or so. Again, I said I understood he was also stressed and tired from being on nights. His messages were brief, agitated, and impersonal. He made sarcastic comments, kept comparing my situation to his own stress, and said things that made me feel like I was being dramatic, especially because I'd spoken in the past about how difficult my relationship with my mom was. He even seemed to suggest that because I'd been critical of her before, I shouldn't be grieving now.
Oh.
His response was defensive. He focused on how I was attacking him. I stayed calm throughout, trying to explain that I wasn't blaming him, I just needed a little care. To be clear, I wasn't expecting him to drop anything or fix anything. I just wanted to feel like someone I love cared enough to check in, hear me out, maybe see me when he could. But instead, I felt like I had to explain why I was grieving and ended up feeling even more alone and guilty for adding to his stress and feel selfish. He has now said he'll see me tomorrow, but only after all of this. Am I the asshole?
No, he's an asshole. You are
You
allowed
need
to
to
expect
dump
things from your partner.
That's the thing I don't get. It doesn't make you clingy or needy to know that, oh, hey, I need support right now. I'm gonna ask. Well, first of all, you should be given that anyway.
Right.
But everyone is busy. Everyone's in their own head sometimes. Like sometimes you do have to ask people or let people know, like, hey, I need a little support right now. Like I'm
Yeah.
feeling like this.
But you also have to think about the future. Like, if he can't get the cues or like
Yeah.
if he can't understand that even though you had a complicated relationship with your mom just died and your dog died, if he can't understand that, then how is he going to understand anything? Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
The fact that he would downplay any of it too, and just like make
That
it
feels
seem like not a big
gaslighty.
deal. Yeah.
Mhm.
Bad news. Lots of red flags there.
Yep.
So that's that.
Get rid of him.
Get rid of him.
I hate him. Yeah.
Boo.
Boo. Well, I'm up first this week, which means you should have a little side bitch.
I do.
Woohoo!
Okay, will you grab me my phone actually? Because that's where
Okay.
it is.
Okay.
Okay, I just had texted it to Ash and Elena because they posted something right before I saw it that was related. But
Okay.
anyway, I did one recently about a guy who, remember he was going, like he was so hungry for pickles.
It was the criminal. He was a dumbass criminal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that guy. Okay. Well, I've had pickles on the mind lately.
Oh, you had me eat one of those tamales?
Yes.
So good.
My obituary this week is a short one. It was just a death notice that I saw online that said, killed by eating pickles. Girl devoured scores of big, fat ones daily and finally succumbed.
Ooh, big fat ones. I love a pickle.
One of our friends, Chris, had posted that on her story, and I was like, oh, love that.
That's a good one.
Okay, yes, I made you try a tamale. So basically, there's some lore there. When I was little, my grandpa always had like fun olives in the fridge, like different kinds, like ones with different cheeses in them or garlic.
I've been on such an olive kick lately.
I love an olive.
Oh.
And so, anyways, there's these things called tamales, and they're like tiny little tomatoes, basically, but they're pickled and they're so juicy.
They're so good.
They're like sour but garlicky, and
You bite into one. This is my first time having one. It's an explosion of like vinegar, sour, salty, tomatoey, pickly.
They're
so good.
So good. And so when I was little, I would just eat them. I'd go nuts for them.
That's so not a little kid snack.
He had a palate. I loved that and spicy V8.
Oh.
Like the tomato juice.
Damn. You are a tomato guy because you love ketchup too. You're a ketchup guy.
Yeah, I think that's why I loved V8. It's like the closest thing you can get to just drinking
it. You know, ketchup used to be used as like medicine.
Yeah, give me an IV.
Give me an IV and I'll be fine.
Call the nurse.
I'll be just fine.
I love pickled anything though.
Yeah.
You're a pickle girl too.
Yeah. I watch people on like TikTok. try different types of pickles.
You
or
did the
pickle
chamoy
things.
one. You bought the chamoy pickle kit and you got sick.
I didn't get.
Yes, you
I
did.
just had a little tummy ache.
I
But
said,
yeah,
don't
love
eat.
a pickle.
I said, don't eat the chamoy pickle kit from TikTok. And you said, it's fine.
My mouth is watering, though, even talking about it. Like watching people. And okay, they do this on TikTok. They have those long tongs.
And they like get them?
And they get them and they dip and then they crunch right
See, that
into
would
the
drive me
microphone.
nuts. I
No.
would never want to watch someone do that. I hate watching people eat.
I don't either. I don't like watching people eat, but that crunch does something to me and it makes my mouth water.
No, because I would hear their like slurp afterwards and I'd be like, absolutely not.
I kind of love that.
Ugh.
But if you're sitting next to me and I can hear you chewing, I want to punch you,
No,
you
I don't wanna
know?
see it. But okay, I got, you know that company Grillo's
Mm-hmm.
pickles?
Mm-hmm.
They have pickle de gallo.
Ooh.
I bought someone because I posted
it's
a
like
TikTok
pico?
about the tamales and they were like, okay, you have to try this Grillo's pickle de gallo. I bought it. It's in my fridge.
Does
We
it
can
taste
try
like
it.
it?
I haven't opened it yet.
Should we do a taste test?
Maybe on Patreon
Okay.
tonight.
Okay.
Really excited to try that. So yeah.
Ooh.
So actually maybe we will go crack it open because we have to take a quick break. But when we come back,
Yeah.
we're gonna hear what had Madison spinning in her coffin.
Yes, we will.
We'll be right back.
Hi.
And we're back. Madison, what had you spinning in your coffin this week?
Girls, let me pull it up. Okay. So last week, well, I guess the week before, 'cause last week we had a guest, but the week before that, I talked all about bereavement hallucinations. And
Yes.
remember I was saying how I wanted to cover something that kind of had something to do with the Victorians?
Yeah.
Well, today I will be covering that.
Okay.
I originally thought that it would fit really well with bereavement hallucinations, but I think it deserved its own coffin spinner. So today I want to cover crisis apparitions.
No. No.
It's okay. It's okay.
Do it.
It's okay.
No.
It's okay.
God.
And scene. Wow.
And that's on the improv class that I took when I was 10 years old from a lady who also taught driving lessons.
Okay, wait. Let's do an improv scenario.
Let's get to the coffin spinner. How about
Okay.
that?
So,
Okay, improv. You're a podcaster and you're going to read your coffin spinner.
okay, girls, what's up with that? Okay. So, before I explain what a crisis apparition is, I need to give you a little quick recap of a bereavement hallucination so that these two things don't get twisted. A bereavement hallucination is basically when you see, hear, feel, smell, or are touched by the presence of a deceased loved one. We went over it last week or 2 weeks
Yes.
ago. Well, a crisis apparition is different. So the best way I can explain it is by like painting a picture of it. So let's say that I'm at home and
Shocking.
and out of the corner of my eye, this is real time, right? I'm at home, hanging out, flicking my bean, like doing whatever, just chilling, right?
Jesus, Madison, yeah.
Okay. So all of a sudden I see you, Spencer, out of the corner.
I don't want to be
No,
there.
no, yeah, wait, not flicking the bean. I'm at home eating pickles,
Okay.
okay? And just farting around. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see you. And it's like a quick flash. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, Spencer's not supposed to be here. But I for sure see you. Well, then, a couple hours later, I get word that you died.
Oh.
Okay? That's basically what a crisis apparition is. I guess in the simplest forms, it is the reported appearance or like impression of a person. It doesn't actually have to be appearance. It could be I felt you or I smelled you or or I heard you. Let's say I'm at home and I hear you saying like, bitch, talking shit to me or something. Like I heard that voice.
And then you find out I'm dead.
And then
That's probably how it's going to go if you were to outlive me, which...
Oh, we'll get into some stories that remind me so much of us.
Okay.
It's actually very cute. So it's usually the crisis apparition happens at the time of the person's death or a life life-threatening emergency. So maybe you hadn't died yet, but you were in a life-threatening emergency, but you're not in the same geographical location as I am.
Right.
It's almost like a weird last goodbye from a loved one or something.
Yeah, we've heard of people like getting like a text or phone call or camera ping.
Yep, exactly. It's bizarre, but it's cool at the same time. And I'll get into actual stories, like I said, later. But the reason I bring the Victorians into this is because...
Yeah, why'd you bring them into this?
I brought them into this because paranormal researchers from the Victorian era actually coined the term crisis apparition.
Oh.
According to psychologytoday.com, they defined a crisis apparition as, quote, the vision or sense of a loved one around the time of their death. So again, in other words, if a friend or relative dies suddenly or undergoes some type of trauma, you might see, hear, feel, smell an apparition of that person at the exact time of the crisis.
Okay.
Also, there's debate online whether this is a ghost or not, and it's not.
Okay. That's the conclusion everyone's come to.
That is the conclusion. They're not categorized as ghosts. A crisis apparition isn't like tied to a specific location, and they don't stick around or come back from time to time to say hello. It's like a one and done kind of thing. But there are stories of like, let's say I heard you, and then your sister heard you, and then your friend heard
Multiple people.
Multiple, yeah, but still not, you're not standing around haunting us.
Okay.
It's just like a goodbye.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Okay. Now back to the Victorians. We obviously know and love how dramatic they were and also how curious, I think. I think curious is like the best word to describe them sometimes, like about the afterlife. So in the late 1800s, a group of researchers formed the SPR. This stood for Society of Psychical Research, not physical. It was made up of scientists, clergymen, and philosophers, and they all had a goal to explain paranormal stuff, but scientifically. And in 1882, they got to work collecting thousands of firsthand accounts of apparitions and hauntings and stuff like that. And then by 1886, they had published this big-ass book. It actually had 2 volumes. The book was so big. It's called Phantasms of the Living. Oh, no, not Obituary. That's volume 3.
Okay.
And I think phantasm comes from the word phantom. So I looked up the book and was able to get like an e-copy of it. And I'll link it because it is really interesting to read through. I obviously didn't read the whole thing, but it had 666 pages.
Oh my.
Creepy. So 3 men are really at the forefront of this book, and you hear their names come up a lot if you look up crisis apparitions. There's Edmund Gurney, who's a psychologist and parapsychologist, Frank Podmore, who was an author, and then Frederick H.W. Myers was a a philologist, which is basically the study of language, which I need. Also, mathematician and physicist G.N.M. Tyrrell was part of the research society as well. So many educated people from different aspects of life came together to study apparitions at the time of crisis. The book, Phantasms of the Living, has over 700 documented and signed testimonies of these crisis apparitions. And they basically were like, we're not saying that this is proof of ghosts, but we are saying that this is happening to a lot of people and it's not random. And then the SPR, the society, went as far as to do a census of this in the UK. And so they polled 17,000 people in the late 1800s. And I found in the University of Cambridge archives the census, and they asked these people, quote, have you ever, when believing yourself to be completely awake, had a vivid impression of seeing or being touched by a living being or inanimate object, or of hearing a voice, which impression, so far as you could discover, was not due to any external physical cause. And the census was named Census of Hallucinations, and it found that 1 out of every 43 people experienced some kind of crisis apparition situation. Oh. I haven't read, like I was saying, the whole volume 1 book, but from the introduction alone, they speak a ton.
I read the first.
I read the intro, girls. Okay. Okay, girls.
I've done that so many times. Yeah.
Well, it's also written in 1800s lingo, so it's a little hard to understand, but you get it. It is interesting. But in the first chapter, they talk about spontaneous telepathy. And that's kind of basically what people think it is. Someone's so close to someone, it's this telepathic thing that they share. But we still kind of don't know why this phenomenon happens. Some people think that it is, in fact, telepathy. Others think it's just a glitch in your brain and it's just some kind of coincidence. And then, of course, other people think that it's very much the spirit of that person coming to visit and say goodbye. But I don't know what the truth is. I kind of think it is someone coming to say bye.
Yeah.
But after you hear some of these stories, I think everyone's going to believe in it.
Okay, let's hear them.
Pretty interesting. And it's couple notable people. Okay?
Okay.
So the first story that I read was actually reported on by Psychology Today in the article that I quoted earlier. And I was hooked when I read it. It's a story about Billie Holiday.
Oh, love.
Yeah. So in 1945, she was in Washington, D.C. I think she was touring, performing.
Beautiful.
Oh my God. To die for. So pretty. She actually writes about this incident in her autobiography.
Okay.
This was 1945. She's sitting in a hotel room in Washington, D.C. with her boyfriend one night. It was just a normal night, nothing weird or out of the ordinary. And all of a sudden, she felt her mom's presence. It was undeniable. She felt her mom's presence. She felt her mom literally come behind her and put her hand on her shoulder.
Oh.
And she knew it was her mom. Her mom was 49 years old in 1945 and was not ill or anything of the sort. She also wasn't physically in that hotel room. She wasn't even in the state, but she felt her. There are actually cute stories. If you look this story up, some of them will say that her mom was 38 years old in 1945, but that's because her mom kind of stopped counting her age at 38.
Okay.
And Billie Holiday's yeah, I'm not going to get older than 38 either. Very cute. So she feels her mom's presence in that hotel room. Billie knew that it was her mom's presence and knew for certain that it was her mom saying goodbye and that her mom died. She turns to her boyfriend and literally says, "Mama just left and she's dead." And her boyfriend is
chills.
Yeah, her boyfriend's what the fuck? This is so out of the ordinary, right?
Uh-huh.
Billie continues and is she says something "You better be good to me because you're all I have now." My mom's gone.
Wow.
So the next morning, everyone in her crew is being very, very weird towards her and she can feel it. And she goes up to her road manager and is "I know that my mom's dead. I know that she passed last night. What's going on? Why is everyone being weird?" And her road manager was pissed off. "Who told you?" And she's "Nobody told me. My mom came to me. I know that she's
got chills
dead."
Again.
Yeah. And turns out her mom died unexpectedly at home at the same time that she felt that hand on her shoulder.
That is insane.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have Lord Bropham. I have no idea who this guy is or was or anything. Never heard of his name before, but his...
Yeah, so much for being a lord.
Yeah, sorry, but his story comes up a lot with crisis apparitions. His full name is Henry Bropham. He's the first Baron Bropham and Vaux. Yeah, I don't know who he is, but he was a lord in Britain. But when he was young, he went to school in Edinburgh. he had this childhood best friend, and they made a pact when they were school children that whoever died first would try to appear to the other one.
Okay.
And this reminded me of us.
Oh, we'd be relentless.
Girl, I would come up behind you like, girl, I am fucking dead.
Dead, bitch.
Fuck, girl. But they did this because they were skeptical and they wanted to like prove that there was an afterlife. So that was the pact that they made as school children. Years pass, they lose touch. The Lord goes and pursues a career, I guess, in politics, and his childhood friend moves to India. Well, one night in 1799, the Lord was in Sweden at the time he was traveling. He stays at some inn, and it was like a cold night, so he decides to take a hot bath. Well, when he's in the bath, he is soaking and sitting there, and he looks over, and there's a chair like in the corner of the bathroom, and his childhood friend is sitting there in the chair, just staring at him. And he's like, what the fuck? Like rubbing his eyes, like, what is going on? He's like disoriented. He gets up and gets out of the bath. Like, what the fuck is going on? And the guy's still staring at him, and then he faints. Well, when he comes to, the guy's gone. He literally hadn't thought of this friend in years. There's even like documented like writing of his from this trip that like nothing reminded him of any friends on the trip. I'm like, oh, that's like kind of cold. Anyway, when he gets back home from his trip to Sweden, he's notified that his friend who lives in India passed the night that he saw him in the bathroom in Sweden. And I guess like I was reading like 60 years later, he still talked about it, but he wasn't like a denier, but he's like, yeah, it was like a weird coincidence, but like, I don't know.
That's crazy.
I think that's fucking crazy.
Makes you think too, like I feel like in horror movies they show, or like scary movies or whatever, they always show this happening, or even non-scary movies, like and you're always like, why are they showing that? Like that's so not believable for like the mom to come say goodbye or whatever.
But it happens.
But apparently it happens.
It happens. Or you hear like on, I guess, like a less, I don't mean to say crazy, but like a more believable scale is like you hear stories of people having dreams.
Yeah.
Like the night that someone passes or whatever. Okay, lastly, I'll leave you with one that's more modern that I actually read on CNN. They like did a whole crisis apparition thing.
Oh, wow.
It says, quote, it's short. It says, Nina De Santo was about to close her New Jersey hair salon one winter's night when she saw him standing outside the shop's glass front door. It was Michael. He was a soft-spoken customer who'd been going through a brutal patch in his life. His wife had divorced him after having an affair with his stepbrother.
Oh, my God.
And he had lost custody of his boy and girl in the ensuing battle. He was emotionally shattered, but DeSanto had tried to help. She'd listened to his problems, given him pep talks, taken him out for drinks. When DeSanto opened the door that Saturday night, Michael was smiling. Nina, I can't stay long, he said, pausing in the doorway. I just wanted to stop by and say thank you for everything. They chatted a bit more before Michael left and DeSanto went home. On Sunday, she received a strange call from a salon employee. Michael's body had been found the previous morning, at least 9 hours before she talked to him at her shop. He had committed suicide.
Oh.
If Michael was dead, who or what did she talk to that night? It was very bizarre, she said, of the 2001 encounter. I went through a period of disbelief. How can you tell someone that you saw this man, solid as ever, walk in and talk to you, but he's dead? Today, DeSanto has a name for what happened that night. Crisis apparition.
Wow.
So there you have it.
Crazy crisis apparition. If you've ever had one, please write in. I know I've gotten stories on Cult Leader before. I don't know if we've gotten any on Obituary, of this happening.
It kind of reminded me of the
Third Man Syndrome.
Remember we got that one story?
I've had specific, like more specific ones though. I feel like, come on, because I'll do Cult Leader, like the Little Leader. Sometimes people will write in with signs stories, and I feel like we've gotten a few. That last story reminded me. So when I worked at a salon in the Bay Area when I was like, I think I started there when I was like 18, and I
Okay.
worked there up until I moved to LA.
Okay.
They're still home to me. Like my sister still goes there. I still love them.
They did a gloss on my
Yeah,
hair.
I took you there when we were doing our SF show.
Yeah.
And okay, so one day we had meetings like on the last Wednesday of the month. And one day I walk in and there was this customer there, we'll call her Laura, that we loved. And I walked into this meeting and everyone looked so sad.
Okay.
And we found out that when they had called to confirm Laura's appointment, her son had answered the phone and was like, my mom died.
Okay.
And so we were all like, oh my God, like that's so sad. She didn't die.
What?
Her son, I guess, was just fucking weird and said that. And so we all literally were like, oh my God, that's so sad. And then every time she came in forever, it was always like,
oh my God.
girl,
are you a crisis apparition, girl?
Girl, we know.
Are you a girl?
What you are, girl? You're paying.
Girl, you're dead.
I was like, damn, girl, that's fucked up.
Damn, if my own son was telling people that.
Sometimes it be your own kids.
Damn.
All right, we're going to take one more quick break. And when we come back, I'll tell you what had me sizzling in my coffin this week.
Oh, sizzling.
Uh-huh. We'll be right back.
And we're back, Spencer. What had you sizzling in your coffin this week?
I am so excited for my coffin spinner this week, Geoffs, because I did a deep dive into a story from around the Victorian era.
Okay.
And it's absolutely nuts. And I'm simply dying to know if any of our Ohioan Geoffs have ever heard of it.
Okay. I love a Victorian story.
Today, I am teaching the class all about the Cincinnati Fire Coffin.
Wait, we're in class?
Yes.
A fire coffin? Okay.
No, just fucking get ready. But first, we're going to do a little backtracking. I'm sure we all remember the story of Jeannie Saffron and Mary Reeser. It's one of the first times we ever got in trouble on the show because we could not handle the topic of spontaneous human combustion without losing it.
Girl, didn't fire come out of her mouth? I can't. Okay.
Okay. So when we talked about Mary, it was actually a very brief reference to her during the segment. And so I actually thought it would be nice to do a quick little rundown of that case first.
Here we go, getting in trouble again.
See, this is what I'm talking about. This is one of those things that, like, for some reason, we can't not laugh.
Terrible.
It's just terrible.
But is it real?
We don't know.
Okay.
So Mary was a 67-year-old widow living in St. Peter. That got you?
No.
Mary was a 67-year-old widow living in St. Petersburg, Florida. She'd been described as quiet, reserved, and a bit of a homebody. Your classic mid-century gal. On the night of July 1st, 1951, Mary was home alone in her little apartment, and she had told her son earlier in the day that she was feeling a little bit drowsy because she took 2 sleeping pills and might take more before bed. She also was a cigarette smoker, which we'll come back around to once we get into the theories of what actually happened to her. But what we do know is on the morning of July 2nd, Mary's landlady came by to deliver a telegram. She noticed that the doorknob was very hot to the touch, like burn your hand hot. So she calls the police. First responders arrive and they step into an apartment that is not on fire, but it's definitely not normal. The air is very thick and hot. Things feel scorched, but not destroyed. The walls have some soot on them. The electrical outlets are fully melted. A mirror is cracked from the heat, and right in the middle of the room is Mary's chair. I'm not going to be able to get through this.
Could you imagine?
Mary Reeser is almost entirely gone.
What do you mean?
Mary Reeser is almost entirely gone. There's no skeleton. No remains sitting up in the chair, just a pile of ashes where her torso should be, and one of her feet is still in a slipper, and there's part of her backbone. That's all that remains.
The slippers didn't burn?
No. So you walk in and you just see this chair.
I don't.
Ashes, a foot in a slipper,
Okay.
and part of her backbone.
Okay.
Crazy. The rest of the room basically untouched. So there were newspapers nearby that weren't burned. There was plastic household items that were warped but not ignited in flames. It's like the fire was located directly on Mary.
And this is real and documented.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, God.
And I mean,
Terrible.
1950s, like, they had enough then to, like, document it, right? It's not like this happened in the 1700s and, like, they're guessing. But this is where things get even stranger. So investigators are stumped, right? And the case blows up, literally, in newspapers across the country. Scientists, conspiracy theorists, and housewives everywhere are like, what do you mean she just caught on fire? Yeah. Ever since then, several theories have floated around about our gal Mary, but I would say most have concluded that it's likely she was a victim of the rare phenomenon of spontaneous human combustion, which we can't handle it.
It's just the craziest way to go out.
It's the act of it. It's just wild to me that we could just explode.
If you just exploded
Girl,
right now,
I'd be...
I would laugh.
Damn.
I know.
So as far as theories go, some did assume in the beginning, like maybe some foul play happened, like someone did this to Mary.
But how? I mean,
like maybe it wasn't an accident. I don't know. Came and fucking took a blowtorch to her, or who knows?
People would have heard her. Her slippers wouldn't have been intact.
Well, what do you think the sound was when she went? If it was spontaneous human combustion, and probably made a sound.
No, it's like no, it's like wee, like poppers.
It's like or like fireworks.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's like shit. Others assume that perhaps her cigarette ended up lighting her on fire, and that because she had taken sleeping pills, she didn't wake up.
Oh, but to not have any bones?
I know. Well, and you know what? I was like, that's a lot of work for a cigarette, too. Like, I know
That's
cigarettes
like-
burn down houses and stuff, but like the fact that it was so centralized just on her.
That feels like anti-big.
Anti-tobacco. Anti-big
Yeah.
tobacco. Okay. We won't stand for that.
No.
And I'm also like, yeah, she took sleeping pills, but don't you think, like, if you were on fire, that might shake you out of it?
Well, and where's the fire? It just magically went out and didn't burn her chair.
Yeah. Again, most have chalked Mary's case up to being spontaneous human combustion, igniting from the inside out. But either way, it was an explosive ending. Now, like Mary, we have the story of the Cincinnati Fire Coffin that has been circulated for years and baffled everybody on what happened. You don't even know yet.
Yeah.
I hope they're watching this on YouTube just to see your face. So this story takes us back to the year 1835, which was actually 2 years before the onset of the Victorian era, because that started in 1837. So you know it's going to be a little wild.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. This is from 1835, like I mentioned, so details are a little murky. You're just going to have to go with me here on this one.
I've been going with it the whole time.
Okay, so there's this well-respected Cincinnati gentleman who passes away, and some have presumed it to be a man named Colonel George W. Boyd. That's what some sources say, although he passed 10 years after the alleged incident was first reported on, which wouldn't really work with that timeline that most sources give. So it's hard to tell. Either way, he was a respected gentleman in Cincinnati. This man passes away, and we know he was well respected because of his burial. He was buried in a family crypt. It was like one of those old school padded thick stone vaults, which
Ooh.
was, you know, they're designed to last forever,
Mm-hmm.
an eternity. Also is a huge signifier that the family probably had
Money.
money.
Yeah.
Money, honey. So this burial took place in 1835, allegedly. And fast forward a few years later, the cemetery is undergoing some changes. There are all sorts of renovations happening on the property, which required some of the cemetery's permanent tenants, we'll call them,
Okay.
to be moved. No one wants to disrupt a grave, right? But they're like, every once in a while, it's like, yeah, we got to dig them up and move them a little this way.
Okay.
And I want you guys to just keep in mind, this is years later. This is years after the burial.
Okay.
Well, the cemetery workers find themselves working in the very area where that man's body resided.
Mm.
And in order to make progress on their expansion efforts, he would need to be moved, at least temporarily. So they open up the crypt that he's in, they unseal the vault, and bam, they're hit with this wave of heat.
Oh, no.
Like you had opened up an oven.
Okay.
They're all taken aback, and immediately they try and figure out what's going on. Like, where's the source of this heat? Because, I mean, it's down inside of a cemetery vault.
Yeah.
Well, it was coming from inside of the man's coffin, which was actively burning.
What?
The wood on the coffin was charred. It was smoldering. His body had been partially consumed from the heat, and there was now heat and smoke pouring out into the rest of the crypt.
Why?
Despite all the aforementioned, there was no open flame in sight. And that's what perplexed everybody most of all. Like, how did this happen? Like, it was just radiating
That's some
this
devil
smoldering
shit.
heat.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few different theories, and one of them does involve the devil, honey.
Oh.
The first theory, some believe it could have been a buildup of methane or sulfur gases coupled with the poorly ventilated crypt. They say it could have ignited with even the smallest static spark or chemical reaction, creating basically a low-grade combustion. But again, from inside a stone vault, like how does that happen? And why years later? Was there a random burst of oxygen down there while they were working there? Like, I just have a hard time with that theory. Another theory, a big one, is that this is another case of spontaneous human combustion / exploding caskets. Because we've talked in past episodes about how sometimes the buildup of gases released from a corpse in a tightly sealed coffin can create a pretty intense chemical reaction or explosion, like King Henry VIII style. The vault got really warm, gases built up in the body or coffin materials, and then boom, internal fire slowly cooked the remains.
Okay.
There's another theory that maybe it wasn't his body that caused the combustion, but perhaps it was the casket.
Huh.
In this theory, it wasn't the body, it was the coffin's materials that combusted. So in the 1800s, coffins were often made from pitch pine, which is very resin heavy and very flammable. And so if you combined that with decaying organic material and possibly some leftover embalming chemicals, we know they were using some wild shit to embalm bodies back in the day. Maybe it's possibly a surefire recipe for disaster. Yeah. And then lastly, and I need to preface this one, the discovery of the coffin was made during the Victorian era because it was a few years after the man had been buried. And we know that supernatural gossip was at an all-time high. And some Victorians believed it was divine punishment or perhaps a demonic presence. Perhaps the dead man had sinned in life and was being roasted in advance.
You know, that makes the most sense to me, honestly.
Honestly, there's no real investigation that ever happened. This was long before forensics as we know it today. So the cemetery basically just sealed the crypt back up and they were like, all right.
I wonder if it's still there.
I know. I was trying so hard to find everything. The story kind of disappeared into obscurity throughout the century, and there are some local newspaper clippings, I guess, and a few historians that have kept the legend alive. But to this day, there is no scientific consensus on what actually caused the Cincinnati Fire Coffin.
I love that. I love a fire coffin.
Hot.
Hot.
It kind of reminded me too, though, of remember when there was that underground, that like tomb that got struck by lightning or whatever. I was like, part of me had the thought, I'm like, I wonder if there was like a gas buildup in there or something and then lightning struck.
Or like maybe a hot springs kind of thing.
Or like a natural gas. Like, remember when
Yeah.
I talked about the Lake Neos
Yeah.
disaster? Like something like that underground, and that gas mixed with the bodily gases caused some sort
Yeah.
of something. I don't know. It's really interesting to think about. Or there was also a demon in there who fucking
Yeah. Who
who
knows?
said you're getting a delayed cremation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. God, I love that. I love just local stories like
Uh-huh.
that. Oh,
Fun.
well, that was just hot.
Oh,
Too
thank
hot to
you.
handle. My gosh, thank you.
And you know what else is hot? Obituary, the big hot book of death.
Oh, a promo.
Any chance I can. prh.com/obituary.
Ooh, and you know what's also in that book?
What?
Obituaries.
You're so right, Madison.
Oh my gosh, do you want to hear one?
Wow.
You want to hear
That's
one?
the first good one.
Woo!
Yeah, tell it to me.
Okay, so I have one for Rocky, and Rocky reminds me a little bit of you.
Okay.
Okay. Rocky, 54, passed away on April 26th, 2025, in Utah. He was born on December 21st, 1970, in Utah to Gary and Margot. Rocky took pride in all of his work in multiple roles at the Kennecott, Utah Copper. He also talked fondly of his work at Interstate Brick. He took joyous pride in raising his two daughters, Rosemarie and Chanel, and his son, Johnny. Rocky loved working on model cars as well as working on and building vehicles. Most notable is the orange truck. If he wasn't kicked back in a lawn chair, he was in the garage. Rocky loved guns and hunting and even just going out shooting. He enjoyed camping and being around fire, which meant he did a lot of four-wheeling and three-wheeling. And if he wasn't doing that, Rocky was catching a fish. The only thing he loved more than all those hobbies and good times was teaching his son and daughters all about it. This is where we get to you.
Oh.
Well, minus this sentence. You should have been there for the deer hunt that ended with the dum-dum skunk. He drank, he smoked, he cussed. Here we go. Rocky was a hell of a man who would say, fuck you, give you the middle finger, and offer a beer and a damn good laugh all at once. He once said to put him in the coffin face down so everyone can kiss my ass. And then it goes, his survived by and proceeded and all the viewing
I love
information.
Hell fucking yeah. May I get that same type of obituary?
Put me face down so you can kiss my ass.
My ass. Oh, I love that.
I know, Rocky.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I have one that was sent into us, and it says, "Hi, Spencer and Madison and everyone. My name is Dee, and this is my first time writing to a podcast. I listened to both Cult Leader and Obituary. Thank you, Dee.
Thanks, Dee.
My daughter recruited me, and I am binge listening, trying to get caught up. I
Aw.
found this beautiful obituary on a Facebook group I'm on called Cemetery Enthusiasts, and wow, I hope you enjoy reading it. Thank you both for all you do to keep me laughing. Hope you have a beautiful day. Give lots of scratches and snuggles to all the fur babies, and don't forget the treats." Sharon Dawn Harvey Cook Hunter decided her party should start at 10:31 a.m. on Friday, May 30th, 2025.
Love that intro already.
As she entered her celebration, the first person to welcome her was the love of her life, Joseph Leroy Cook. Joe led Sharon down to the dance floor where the always stylish and light on their feet couple cut a rug.
Aww.
Suddenly, the 1950s style music changed to the robust sounds of a drum line. Joe and Sharon turned around to see their youngest son, Jeffrey Mark Cook, laughing, spinning his drumsticks, and shouting, "Dude."
Aw.
The last sounds of the drum line were still lingering as the gentle notes of a lullaby filled the air. Sharon wept tears of joy as baby boy Cook was placed in her arms.
Aw.
She swayed to the music, cradling the infant son she longed to hold for nearly 6 decades.
Oh.
Sharon smiled when she heard her grandfather, George Henry Williamson, say, "He's beautiful." She felt the hand of her grandmother, Judith Eleanor Larson Williamson, on her shoulder. Sharon turned so her grandmother could hold the baby, and to her great delight, she saw her two very special aunts, Eloise Beth Williamson Miller Grassel and Verna May Williamson Jost. Sharon's aunts embrace her, giving her all their love and affection. Elaine June Williamson Harvey Feast presented Sharon with a bouquet of daisies, knowing it was her daughter's daughter's favorite flower. That's when Sharon noticed her 2 aunts, mother, and grandmother were all wearing yellow, her favorite color. Joe stepped in to whisk Harvey away for another dance, only to feel a tap on his shoulder. His father, Joseph Gillart Cook, was cutting in. Before her father-in-law could speak, Grace Leroy Cook, her mother-in-law, took Sharon by the arm so they could walk and talk. While they strolled arm in arm, Sharon felt a small hand grasp her loose hand. Joining their walk was her niece, Diane Ramsey. The trio turned into a quartet as Sharon's sister-in-law, Irene Joan Cook Sullivan Maloof, joined the promenade. In a flash and sudden blare of country western music, the promenade became a line dance, with Sharon's daughter-in-law, Chris's wife, Peggy Gale Oslin Cook, leading the way. Although most joined the line dance, Sharon noticed her son-in-law's parents, Paul Stephen Hagen and Martha Ann Fink Hagen, watching the activities. Sharon laughed to herself, knowing Martha was waiting for the 500 tournament to begin, with the intent of the 2 of them making it to the championship round. Sharon also noticed her daughter-in-law's parents, Leo Ripka and Colleen Ripka, watching the line dance. Sharon waved to Colleen and held up one finger, letting Colleen know in a minute the 2 of them would be chatting about their favorite topic, cats. The music transitioned back to the 1950s and people gravitated to their social circles. Sharon looked out into the sea of people who were at her party, family, friends, and loved ones. She had invited them all, and they all attended. Sharon and Joe's children, Christopher Cook, Gregory Cook, Jaylene Cook, Deborah Cook, and Brian Hagen, their grandchildren, Larissa Cook, Daniel Kay, and Jason Lee J. Williamson, along with relatives, as well as Sharon's dearest friends, St. Mark's Living and Mayo Hospice staff, and her cat, Daisy May, smiled because they knew Sharon finally understood. She is loved.
Aww.
A memorial service will be held at 2 p.m. and it has like the memorial service.
So are
all
they...
those people I think were in heaven.
Okay,
yeah.
that's what I love that. I love, because it literally made me paint the picture in my head. Like, oh, okay, so that person, okay, that person.
It's so creative. I think
love
like
that.
just picturing, like all the people, because that is the thing that I think is so comforting about death is like, I truly think I've come to the belief now that when we die, it is kind of like a release, like a breath of fresh air. Like, oh my gosh, thank God.
Yeah.
And I think we are reunited with all our
soul circle.
Yeah, our soul groups.
Yeah.
Pets and family and all of that.
Oh, that makes me cry thinking about it. Beautiful.
Well, I'll be there.
What?
I said we'll all be there.
We'll all be there.
Some sooner than others.
Imagine us in heaven seeing each other for the first time.
Laugh. I would laugh.
Oh, we'd be like, oh, really?
I let you in here. Okay.
I didn't think you'd make it up here.
You're such a dumbass, Madison. And speaking of, we've spun in our coffins.
We've bitched our obituaries.
And now it's time for some dumb
ass criminals. Okay, I have a video.
Okay.
Hold on, Reba McEntire is on my screen right now.
Why was I watching Reba last night?
Really?
The show?
Yeah.
Yeah, comfort show for me. When I was a kid, I used to come home from school and make bean and cheese burritos and watch Reba.
Oh, okay. So this is from June 9th, 2025, and this is in California. This is reported on by the New York Post. I believe it happened in the Bay Area.
Okay.
This is actually perfect, too. Because when I see this video, I think of Surfin' USA and the Beach Boy Brian Wilson just
he just passed away.
Naked man caught dancing on top of police car. He is on top of the police car. And the police car, he's naked.
Oh my God, that's in Antioch.
Where is that?
Not far from where I'm from.
This says, wild video shows the moment a stark naked man was busted dancing on top of a police car in California while it was still moving. The man, who hasn't been identified publicly, was caught on camera completely nude in Antioch last Thursday as stunned onlookers watched. An officer first responded to reports that someone was walking around naked on the street.
As is their prerogative.
Yes, but as soon as the officer pulled up, the man jumped on the roof of the squad car and started dancing. The cops slowly drove into a nearby parking lot as the man was still balancing on the vehicle. He gets on the radio and advises dispatch and responding units, as well as the crisis response teams. Here's the man Look, he's having a blast.
He's having the time of his life.
He finally got arrested, but he is like slowly on the
Oh my God, he's stunning his perineum. Good for him.
Clearly, this guy is having some type of mental episode.
Actually, that's an alpha male if I've ever seen one.
You know what? Yeah.
Kind of attractive.
We are all animals.
We are. And speaking of animals.
Oh, no.
Someone said in this article, it's a dumbass criminal, or is he? Oh. This is also from the New York Post. Well, actually, the article they sent me was from a local channel that wanted me to pay for it.
Oh, no.
Okay. Kentucky man known as Cowboy Cody released raccoon into packed restaurant in misguided revenge plot.
What's wrong with that?
Quote, the masked bandit didn't come to steal. He came to bite. A Kentucky man known as Cowboy Cody let loose a terrified raccoon in a bar out of revenge for being turned away from the establishment Friday night, according to police and a bartender who witnessed the incident. Police arrested Jonathan Mason, 40, on a slew of charges, including assault, after he released the raccoon into the Big Apple Grill and Bar in the city of Murray, according to the police press release. Apparently, he had taken the raccoon from his farm and was carrying it around with him all day. I'm a bartender, so I've seen some crazy stuff in my time, but nothing like this. Mason, dubbed Cowboy Cody by locals, lives alone on a nearby farm and has caused trouble in the past at local bars.
Wait, his name's Jonathan. They call him Cody?
Yeah. Hoffner, 37, who has worked at the Big Apple for 5 years, said Mason was already drinking when she encountered him Friday night. The bar had previously banned him over a drunken mule incident.
Oh, God.
I came out from around the bar and asked him nicely to leave, and he said to me, "Oh, I see how it is. They sent a pretty face out here to distract me."
That would have flattered me.
At first, I was like, woo! I diffused a big issue, she said, but moments later, he returned with a raccoon. She said the raccoon waddled into the restaurant as customers looked on in confusion. Hafner told her fellow employees to let her handle the raccoon, but another employee didn't listen and tried to snatch the fiend by its tail. It bit him, and then she said he had to get rabies shots.
Yep. Have you ever seen Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah.
The raccoon.
Uh-huh. Eventually, cops found him and placed him under arrest, and he was booked into the Callaway County Jail and is facing charges of third-degree criminal trespass, second-degree assault, resisting arrest, and failure to maintain insurance. And I love, though, that he was like, "You're not going to fucking let me in here? Well, guess what? You're getting the raccoon."
Oh, you're getting the raccoon? What would you have done if you were there and saw the raccoon? You hate a raccoon.
Pulled out my phone and then pulled out my 45. Wait, here's this mugshot. I kind of love him.
He's handsome. Or,
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's handsome.
And look, he looks like a little darling, too. He's like, what?
I'm just a sweetie.
I just have a raccoon.
But a dumbass, nonetheless. You can't do that. And also, before we leave, we obviously want to talk about everything that's going on right now.
Yeah. Well, this will come out in a week or two.
Yeah. So sorry. I mean, we've posted some stuff on our stories, but we're not getting this out to you any sooner. But obviously, it's pretty clear where we stand on all of the current issues happening right now.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter where you stand. If you don't believe in humane fucking human rights, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah, and
it's sickening.
I don't want to be vague about it either. We're very much talking about ICE coming into our cities and going to high school graduations, elementary school graduations, and illegally detaining people. Just that they believe with no warranty to be illegal immigrants, which is completely fucking racist and bullshit.
There's no due process fucking happening.
No, who are paying more in taxes than the rest of the fucking billionaires in the country are paying.
Or people who were born here and are citizens, but because they're brown, are being detained for 72 hours until they figure it out. Like, it's just fucking crazy. Fuck off. Fuck ICE.
Fuck ICE.
Bye-bye.
And that's it. So we'll be back next week for some more coffin spinners.
And obituaries.
And dumb
ass
criminals. Goodbye.
Goodbye.